Hello and welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and another edition of What is in Our Stand Today. That is a hashtag you can follow across all my social media. So that includes Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. Now, in the end, I will answer the question as to whether you can pair a Dura-Ace shifter to an XTR derailleur. But first, a little history. This gentleman came to me because he had a shifter that was stuck. Now, there is a 2 or 3 video series of right-hand shifters, I believe only right-hand shifters, Dura-Ace 7800, I believe 7700, and maybe something else that were stuck, and I was able to free them up. And this all came about because of the pandemic, and there were bikes coming in here that had not been used for many years, and the shifters, the internal lube from Shimano had at some point either seized up, coagulated, dried up, whatever, and they were stuck, and I was able to free them. So I'll link those down in the description below. But in this particular case, the customer came to me with a shifter that was not stuck because of the grease. It was stuck because a cable was stuck inside the shifter. And that's a completely different animal. And but the good news is he found me on YouTube. He lives approximately 25 to 35 minutes away. And he thought, well, let me give this guy a try because it seems like he knows what he's talking about. So I appreciate that. So he brings me the bike. I can't get the cable out of the shifter. It's a 9-speed shifter. I'm like, I can't get these from my suppliers. They have been phased out many, many, many years ago. And he says, well, I'll outsource it, and would you mind doing the work once I source it and bring it into you? And I'm like, of course, of course. So that's what we've done. We've taken a 9-speed Dura-Ace shifter, 7700 series, 9-speed, and we've paired it to a M952 XTR rear derailleur. In this time frame, the Dura-Ace 9-speed rear derailleur, the pulleys were very, very, very close to each other, so that meant the cage was very short, and it was very hard to get a large cassette back there. Remember that this is the time frame of you want larger gears, get a triple crankset on your bike. They had no inclination to make a compact crankset. They really didn't exist as far as I recall. Someone can correct me down below. But triple cranksets was the way to get larger gear range in the back. But eventually that gave way. Triple cranksets went away. FSA pretty much stole the OE market, original equipment market, with compact cranksets. And I will do a video on the different types of cranksets eventually. And if you want that content, please make a comment down below. In this particular case, the gentleman wanted more gearing, and we have an 1132 cassette back here, and that would be nearly impossible. I know there are some hacks, but nearly impossible to do it organically. Just a Dura-Ace rear derailleur, just a Dura-Ace shifter, no wolf tooth links or anything, just the components as they were designed. Now, we were able to do that with just an XTR derailleur. There are no attachments, no additional links, road links or anything from wolf tooth, and we've got it set up. So I'm going to grab the camera and bring you in for a much closer look to show you what we've done to get this to work. All right, stand by while I grab the phone. In this case, that is my camera. Okay, what we have is this Shimano XTR rear derailleur. As I mentioned before, it's a M952. And if you ever want to know what your components are, Shimano is very good about stamping large numbers, usually on this plate of the rear derailleur. A lot of times on the SRAM, they'll have it posted or they'll have it stamped on the cage. And that's also where you'll find the serial number on SRAM componentry, is usually on the cage. But in this case, Shimano has it right there, M952. Now, this is an 1132 cassette, and I'm going to shift it. Of course, I've only got one hand on the camera, so we're going to shift this up into the 32. Now, I would prefer to have a little bit more of a gap on this 32 cog of, let's say, so this top pulley, just a little refresher course. This top pulley is called a guide pulley, and this bottom pulley is called a tension pulley. So I'd like a little bit more space on the guide pulley, and it's called a guide pulley in my estimation because, well, it takes that chain and guides it into the derailleur cage. Now this top pulley, I like it to have a little bit more room. I like to pedal it backwards just to see where that rear derailleur falls, and you can see it's really close. But I've already screwed in this B adjustment as far as it'll go. So we're kind of at the limits of this rear derailleur, as you can see there. But when the chain is under tension, it does get a little bit of a gap. I just wish it had a little bit more. But it shifts fine from this 32 all the way down to the 11. Has no problems in compatibility with this 50 tooth front chain ring and a 34 tooth, pardon me, a 38 tooth inner. So it's not a true compact, by the way, because a true compact would be a 50 and a 34. So this is a 38. Customer likes it that way, so that's the way it's going to be. And it's a mishmash of a few components. So you can see this is a Ultegra front derailleur. So Ultegra front derailleur, XTR rear derailleur, and Dura-Ace 7700 front shifters. Or, well, I guess they'd only be in the front, the shifters. Now, the funny thing is, when I took this out for a test ride, I had forgotten that this era of shifters had this point right here. And I guess if you're used to it, you don't know any better, but the new, 10 speed kind of smoothed that out, and 11 speed is just a nice transition from this part of the hood up to this part, and this nodule, if you will, even on just a test ride, was very uncomfortable. And my hands aren't that big, but they're not small. So ergonomics have changed significantly since this 9-speed iteration of Dura-Ace. Okay, so I hope I've answered the question. Can you pair 9-speed Dura-Ace with an 1132 cassette and an XTR rear derailleur? If you have any other questions, please post them in the comments down below. And please, I'm always looking for new ideas or ideas for new videos for you. So please, this channel's for you. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you up the road.